Welcome, everyone, to the next iteration of Allison+Sports podcast series. And I am thrilled today to have one of my colleagues, Miriam Abraham from Allison+Partners Munich, and Jason Teitler, who is the SVP of Global Comms and the brand lead for Special Olympics. Today, we're talking global news for the first time ever on this podcast, I believe. And we're here today because Allison+Partners and Special Olympics have come together in a 3-year partnership to promote global awareness of inclusion and the mission of Special Olympics. And so before we dig further into that partnership, Jason, would love for you to give our viewers and listeners here a quick rundown of Special Olympics and how sports communications plays a critical role in your organization.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And first, let me thank you for having me join your podcast. I'm very excited to talk about not only Special Olympics story, but certainly the story of the partnership between Special Olympics and Allison+Partners. What a lot of people know about Special Olympics is that we're a sports organization. We started as a sports organization over 53 years ago, thanks to our founder, Eunice Kennedy Shriver. But what people do not know is that we have certainly progressed and still obviously provide sport work all throughout the world. But we've also expanded to include health, education, and leadership. And all of these are connected and use sport as a platform for helping people with intellectual disabilities across the globe with their skills, with their confidence, certainly when it comes to competition on the field, being the best that they can be, engaging with their communities, engaging in the workplace, certainly in a learning environment. And we do this work every day of the year. So a lot of folks, because it has the word Olympics in it, think that we're an event that just happens so often. And actually, nothing could be farther from the truth. We are in nearly 200 countries and territories, and we do work at a very grassroots level. But we also have very important high-profile events like our upcoming World Games in Berlin in 2023. So there is a ton of work being done across the globe. And the whole idea is to push for inclusion for people with intellectual disabilities, being that they're one of the most marginalized audiences across the globe. They don't really get the attention that they should get. And in some places, they don't even get proper healthcare, access to education, and so on. So we are very much now a movement for inclusion that has sports, health, education, and leadership as a part of its mission.
Thank you for that, Jason. I'm still shocked every time you mention just the scope and scale of Special Olympics and the footprint across the world. And from an Allison+Partners standpoint, more than a year ago, the agency started a search for a nonprofit partner. And I think that's one of the reasons that Special Olympics rose to the surface so quickly. And the scope of the relationship between Allison+Partners and Special Olympics, to your point, is not just window dressing, right? And across the 34 offices that Allison+Partners has, the teams are going to be providing that in-kind public relations support for Special Olympics programming, whether that's through major events that are happening in market or other one-off initiatives. But then also there's a global volunteer program that has already kicked off, and a number of offices in the United States have started to donate their time. And that was a huge part of the reason that I think, this partnership is really pretty synergistic, I will say. But I want to expand the scope a little bit. And we have Miriam on here, who is based in the Allison+Partners Munich office. And we have the World Games coming up in Berlin next year. So Miriam, I want to kick it to you to give us a little bit of a sense of the landscape in Munich and get your point of view on Special Olympics from a global standpoint.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so exciting for us that across all our markets, we get to engage with our Special Olympics partners in Germany, around the world. Our offices are in contact with the local Special Olympics people to talk about how we can engage. And the upcoming World Games in Berlin are just a major opportunity coming up during our collaboration in the next 3 years. And it's taking place in Berlin. It's very exciting. And we're particularly excited here in Munich that we are so close to the games and get to experience them. in our market and talk to journalists and hopefully be able to raise awareness for this event. Jason, for anybody who hasn't yet had the opportunity to go to the World Games in Berlin and experience them firsthand, can you talk about what they can expect next year in Berlin from these World Games?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I don't know that we actually have enough time to go through all the goodness that people can experience at a World Games, but I'll try to give an overview of what people can experience. Of course, there are sport, there's competition, there are unified activities, there are um, various sports that are taking place on a daily basis, much like you would expect from a Special Olympics. Flagship, activation. But what people don't expect and don't know about, and it's our job, of course, as communications experts, to let people get familiar with what to expect, is that there is a lot of thought leadership opportunity. There's a lot of training. There is a ton of volunteer opportunities. We have our partners come in and do various activations. There's a ton of storytelling opportunities as well. And there's the ability to learn and to teach in while interacting with our athletes, our coaches, which is another story that should be unlocked. And I know that with the good folks at Allison+Partners, we're going to be doing that across the world. And then also there are very important sessions that take place, such as our health screenings, where we have our athletes go through a series of checks so that we can identify some issues that need to be resolved, things that should be remedied throughout the regular healthcare environment. But unfortunately, many of our athletes don't have access to proper healthcare. So we provide screenings with our partners to make sure that we're identifying some of those issues. So it's well more than sport, but certainly it's anchored on sport and competition. And it is really one of the most joyous events that you would ever experience. But we're also tackling some pretty tough issues and concerns.
Absolutely. I think it's just a wonderful context, as you just mentioned, these World Games, to really delve into these topics, bring them to the forefront, and have the opportunity to talk about them in a context that is very important to your athlete and your unified partners, but also just carries very important societal implications as well. So that's very, very interesting to have that as part of these World Games as well. Jason, what role do you see communications playing in these World Games, and how do you think communications will drive home this messaging or your messaging?
So there are a variety of tracks that we make sure to own as a communications group, an international network, and that ranges from grassroots communications before the games, during the games, after the games, to also international storytelling in those three different time buckets. And then certainly making sure that we embrace the digital environment while not neglecting the traditional media environment, which is always a challenge. And of course, there's a ton of overlap in that a lot of traditional media also have digitally native sources themselves. But making sure that we're also accommodating all of the new channels for communications, whether it be a big organization that is only digitally native or digital influencers in different parts of the world, where we want to bring them in to talk about what inclusion means to them personally and also what it should mean to their audiences, but also giving them an experience. And I think we pride ourselves in giving people a wonderful experience in person. But the trick is, how do we provide that experience virtually, especially considering we're in a different communications environment than we were 3 years ago because of so many different factors, economy, obviously, pandemic, and so on.
Thank you, Jason. And I want to close by just zeroing in on one example. You're talking about all the storytelling and sort of over the last 3 years, how we've had to shift communication strategies and think of new ways to reach our audiences. And Special Olympics recently brokered a partnership that you were heavily involved in with Minute Media. Can you tell us a little bit more about that partnership?
Minute Media is a holding company. Many may not be familiar with Minute Media by name, but they're probably familiar with their outlets. They own a variety of different outlets in the consumer lifestyle and sports space. Fansided is one. The Players Tribune, which was previously owned and started by New York Yankee Derek Jeter, is also a part of Minute Media. And then there are international sports outlets and gaming outlets such as 90 Minutes, which supported us for the Unified Cup. So they're mostly within the soccer or football, as folks outside the U.S. call it, coverage, which was fantastic. We also work with Double Tap, which is owned by Minute Media, which is a renowned gaming outlet. And then, of course, there's Mental Floss on the pure consumer lifestyle side and information delivery side. And what we're doing with Minute Media and all of these titles is well beyond storytelling, but certainly includes storytelling on a global level. But they have the ability to get to a very grassroots audience, being that they have well over 400 websites throughout the world, catering to specific fandoms and specific geographies. But they're helping us with content development. They're certainly helping us with marketing initiatives. They also will be volunteering. So I have a feeling that Minute Media staff and Allison+Partners staff will be mingling together and getting to know one another, which I hope benefits both organizations. And they're also helping us identify new partners that could perhaps provide volunteer or even monetary support to the movement, which of course we greatly need, especially at the grassroots level. So, good stuff happening on the Special Olympics front with Allison+Partners and Minute Media. And we also have various relationships with other high profile media outlets in different parts of the world, such as CBS Sports Radio in the US with one of our amazing media supporters, J.R. Jackson, who is the host of J.R. Sport Brief on CBS Sports Radio.
Just incredible, Jason. Again, I think the scope and scale of Special Olympics and sort of all the tentacles across the different markets. It's so great to talk with you and Miriam today. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in today. If you want to find some more information about Special Olympics, check them out. Check out their website, specialolympics.org. Really appreciate you following the Allison+Partners, Allison+Sports podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Allison+Sports is grounded in an earned first media relations approach that leverages deep relationships and works collaboratively with brands' existing marketing operations to drive communications value from existing and planned sports sponsorships, athlete and celebrity endorsements, and other marketing relationships. Our regular podcasts cover the world of sports through the lens of marketing and brand engagement. Thanks for watching.